You hear it all the time, right? Especially around election season. Should the government cut taxes to get the economy roaring? Or should it spend more money on things like roads and infrastructure to create jobs? This is one of the oldest, most intense debates in politics. Every politician has a plan they swear will bring prosperity. But which one actually works? To figure that out, we've got to look past the promises and dive into the data. So let's just boil it all down to the big question here. If a government wants to give the economy a shot in the arm, does it get more bang for its buck by cutting your taxes or by spending that money itself? This is the central mystery we're going to dig into. You know, this question has been at the very center of economic debates for, almost a century now. You've got two big camps. On one side, you have the idea that government spending is the way to go. It directly boosts demand. On the other side, you've got the view that tax cuts are the real key because they unlock private investment. Now, politicians, they usually pick a side and stick with it. But economists, well, they try to do something different. They try to find an objective answer by actually digging into the numbers to move past the theory and see what really happened when governments tried these things in the real world. But, and this is a huge but, this leads to a massive puzzle. It's like a detective story for economists, because trying to measure the true effect of a government policy is, well, it's surprisingly difficult. Here's the core of the problem. Did a tax cut cause the economy to grow, or did a growing economy, which was already bringing in more money, simply give the government the room and the confidence to cut taxes? It's that classic chicken and egg situation, where cause and effect are just completely tangled up. Think of it like this. The economy is a big, stormy sea, with waves sloshing around everywhere. Is the government's policy a boat deliberately making its own waves? Or is it just another wave reacting to the storm that's already there? Untangling that is the central challenge. And just so we're all on the same page, when we talk about fiscal policy, we're really talking about these two main levers the government can pull: how much it spends and how much it taxes. That's it. So the whole game is figuring out how to isolate a single deliberate choice, like a decision to spend $1 billion, from all of the automatic economic changes and background noise. And this is the exact problem that two researchers, Olivier Blanchard and Roberto Perotti, set out to solve. And what they came up with was this really clever method, a kind of identification trick, to finally separate that boat from all the other waves. Here's their big insight. Think about how government works. Passing a budget or a new tax law, it takes forever. Months of debate, right? But when the economy grows in a given quarter, tax revenues automatically go up within that same quarter. It just happens, no debate needed. And that little time difference, that's the key to everything. So their method is basically this three-step dance. First, they figure out those automatic, instant changes that happen with the economy. Second, they look at the total change in government taxes or spending for a quarter and subtract that automatic part. And the leftover piece, they argue that's the pure, unexpected policy shock, a deliberate choice, not just a reaction. And then finally, they can track the ripple effect of only that shock over time. It's brilliant, really. By doing this, it's like they can finally dust for fingerprints. They can isolate the unique impact of a specific government action separate from all the other economic chaos. Okay, so they've got this powerful new tool. What happens when they point it at decades of U.S. economic data? What did they actually find out? All right, first up, taxes. When there's an unexpected tax increase, what happens to GDP? You know, the total size of the economy. Well, the data here is pretty clear. After taxes go up, economic output heads down. It shrinks. And they put a number to it. Their analysis found that for every extra dollar the government takes in taxes, the economy eventually shrinks by about 78 cents. So it's not a one-to-one drop, but it is a significant negative hit. Now let's flip it around. What about government spending? When there's an unexpected spending increase, well, the effect on GDP is the complete opposite. You can see it right here. When government spending goes up, the economy gets a boost and follows right along. And in this case, the effect is actually even more dramatic. For every new dollar the government spends, the economy grows by a peak of $1.29. This is that famous multiplier effect you hear about. That government dollar gets spent, then the person who gets it spends it, and so on, creating more than $1's worth of economic activity. So let's just put it all together here side by side. A tax hike has a negative multiplier. It shrinks the economy. A spending boost has a positive multiplier, and in this study, it's actually greater than 1. And what's interesting is that the immediate impact is strong, but the peak impact, which can take several quarters to fully show up, is even larger. So, okay, these are just numbers on a screen, but this isn't some dusty academic exercise. These findings have huge, real-world implications for how government should think about managing the economy, whether we're in a boom or a bust. What makes this research so important, really, is that it tries to ground a fiery political debate in cold, hard data. Instead of just arguing about what should happen based on some theory, it looks at what has happened based on history. So let's just recap the big takeaways. First, both of these tools, taxes and spending, they have real, measurable impacts. You can see it in the data. Second, according to this analysis, government spending packed a bigger punch. It had a larger multiplier effect. And third, and this is crucial, these things don't happen overnight. The full impact isn't like flipping a light switch. It can take several quarters to really play out. Now look, does this one paper settle the argument forever? Of course not. Other economists have used different methods, and sometimes they find different results. But what it does do is give us a powerful tool and a much clearer view of the potential consequences, helping policymakers hopefully make more informed decisions. And that leaves us with one final, pretty fascinating question, doesn't it? This study came out way back in 2002. If the data can offer us these kinds of powerful clues about what works, why does the political debate today sound almost exactly the same? It's a great reminder that even with the best data in the world, the conversation about the economy is never just about the numbers. It's something to think about.